Welcome, everyone, to the first Beta Theta Achievement Foundation Book Club presentation. I'm your host, Solomon Wilcots, with our Rocky Mountain Noobs in the great state of Colorado. Before we get started, I first want to provide you with a brief overview of our book club program presented by the Beta Theta Achievement Foundation. First, this book club is designed to really promote the love of literature and reading among our youth because it is the great Roman orator and statesman Marcus Tullius Cicero who said, he who knows only his own generation remains always a child. It's good for us to know those who came before us so that we can make a way for those who will come after us. So, without much further ado, let me say hello to our distinguished guest. He's a great author. He also is a statesman, the Dr. Jerid P. Woods. How you doing today, my brother?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm blessed and happy to be here, good brother, especially when it's about promoting literacy and reading. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, look, you have been on the front line as a teacher, as an educator. I want to go ahead and tell people exactly who you are because we already know that you're an author, you're a writer, again, an educator, literary influencer who was born and raised in Natchez, Mississippi, and survives on an unwavering passion to ignite a thirst for reading among our youth. And you exist as a living testimony to the power of shared stories and knowing oneself, which I think is absolutely beautiful. You are the owner and creator of a blackmanreading.com and the Instagram blog, A Black Man Reading. So, first of all, let's just get started by just kind of talk about what inspired you to become a storyteller. Why is that very important to you, Jerid?
Yeah. I mean, because I just, books gave so much to me, I wanted to give something back to them. I've been reading since I was 3 years old. And, I think I was just listening to Baldwin's new biography, I think by Nicholas Boggs.
Mm,
And he talks about how Baldwin was rewriting Oliver Twist, and he would
yeah.
change the names of the characters and make them black characters and make them the characters that he saw, the people that he saw walking
Mhm.
around Harlem every day. And I did the same thing. I would recreate Power Ranger episodes and insert myself into the storyline. And so I would say that is what kind of led me to storytelling, just being so enamored with the stories that had already been told that I wanted to do my part to like add something to that timeline, that literary timeline.
Well, you could have developed, a platform to tell any story. And while you have diversification in your ability to tell stories, why do you think it was important to tell your story or tell our story culturally?
Yeah. Well, I think there is such a concerted effort to control our story. I think black folks are some of the most magical beings on this planet when you think about how resilient we've had to be throughout history. And so I just couldn't, I couldn't see myself not doing it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at first I was telling a story about hip hop and my love for music. And in between that and kind of shutting that off, I started sharing my love for reading. And people weren't immediately vibing with it. They were like, it seemed like they were confused
Yeah.
by the imagery of a black man reading. They would ask me if I had homework. They would ask me like if I had like a project or something that I was
Like,
preparing
why are
for.
you doing this, right?
Yeah. Surely somebody is like forcing you.
That's right.
And I was like, no, I just love to read. And so at first it was kind of in spite of the boundaries and the boxes that people have tried to put me in so that I could show them that a black man reading looks exactly like whatever I show up as. And it doesn't have to be, reading in the pursuit of intellectual knowledge and wisdom isn't something that has to be forced upon me. In fact, it's like my birthright as a black person. Like as we know, black people were the first people on this planet. So by virtue of that knowledge, then certainly we had to be some of the first knowledge makers. And so I think it's our birthright. And so I just felt moved to share and tell the story of literature and how it has affected me as a black man.
As a people, us
Hmm.
as Black people,
Yes.
it said that any substantive group of people have their own language, and we certainly have ours. You have your own religious systems, you have your works of art that depicts and describes who and what you are and what you're all about. And finally, we have our own rituals and our own symbolisms. We have our poetry and our literature. So, how does your poetry and your literature best represent our culture?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, by virtue of existence, like we all are adding to the cultural landscape of what it means to be black, right? So
Yeah,
however any of
yeah,
us show up in our blackness, it is worthy, right?
yeah,
And so I think you have that, right? But then also the preservation of our history is just so important. And so I think if those two things can align, then we can do our part to record and document the multitude of experiences that Black folks have. And I think all of that is ritual work, like you said earlier. We are people who do ritual, right? And
yeah.
so the ritual work of documenting, sharing, and transmitting our stories orally is something that I think we all, like you said, have our part in.
Yeah, it's almost like a mosaic, right?
Hmm.
Everyone has a sort of a snapshot as the bigger mosaic, as the bigger picture. And as you start to sort of draw in a little bit closer, you can see each one of the individuals making these statements, but it's all a part of a collective, right? It all creates this real big, beautiful mosaic. I love the moniker, a black man reading. Why is it important to say it? And tell us more about it. What does it really mean for you?
Yeah, it's the reclamation of the story again, right? So
Mhm.
like I think black men have had so many different stereotypes thrusted upon us, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times people try to shape us before we actually get a chance to shape ourselves.
That's right.
And so when I was naming it a black man reading, I wanted it to be big and ambiguous so that all black men can move in and out of it as a identity because I think also identity politics have circumscribed us. It's something that started out as something that was supposed to be expansive has now started to kind of circumscribe us. And what I wanted to do was give us some of that ambiguity and bigness and largeness back. And
Yeah.
so if a black man reading is an athlete, then and he shows up and he's reading, then that's what it looks like today. If a black man reading is a professor and he shows up
That's
and he's
right.
reading, then that's what it looks like for today.
That's
So I
right.
wanted the moniker of it to be big enough to hold the multitude of all of these different facets of black intellectual masculinity that
Yeah.
we don't oftentimes get to label for ourselves before someone else, some outside force does that work for us.
I always think of reading and writing sort of like this huge bank account, right? The reading
Oh
is
yeah.
when you go to make a deposit.
Hmm.
And we have to always continue to make deposits in our mind and in our spirit to continue to pour into who we are and to imagine what we want to be. It's like a time machine that takes you places, right? That you could never maybe go physically, but then it takes you even back in time, right?
Yeah,
Places
yeah.
that don't even exist. It exists on those pages, right? And then when
Hmm.
you go to later write, it's like you're making a withdrawal. It just starts to
Withdrawal. Hmm.
pour out of you, doesn't it? Now
Yeah, yeah.
you made a tremendous withdrawal when you put pen to paper to write the book that we're going to discuss today, and it's called Three Pens of Capitolean, which offers a evocative glimpse into the thoughts, passions, and struggles of two young black men raised in the Deep South, specifically Natchez, Mississippi, through a blend of raw truth, lyrical beauty, and cultural depth. The poetry collection in this book, it invites us to explore themes of brotherhood, loss, love, legacy, and liberation. Let's kind of just take an overview and tell us about the title and what went into the collection of these poems.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, me and my frat brother actually, Stephen Randall, we went to go see Ta-Nehisi Coates in New Orleans, and I was telling him I was like, we could put together something and it'd be something so great that others would want to talk to us as well, right? Like
Mm,
everyone has a story to tell. And so I was like, and all you have to do, Baldwin says that experience is the bank that you withdraw from, like you
that's
said.
right.
And so if we've read all of these books and we've read all these poems and we've listened to all this music, surely we can put something together
That's right.
and create something. And so we had this idea of the two wolves, what is it, Romulus and Remus in Rome,
Yes. Yeah.
and how they kind of came together to create something of
Yes.
immense importance to humanity. We
Hmm.
were like, you have me as one pen, him as another, and we come together to create this third pen. And you know, both of our cities had a relationship with once being like, well, mainly my city, but have a relationship with like holding like a sort of a political dominance in our state.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's where you kind of get this idea of like capital. But then like the lean is the bend and the way, like you said, that black folks have with their with the English language.
That's
And
right.
so it's like a play on all of that because all of that goes into making us who we are.
Yes.
And so that's how we landed on that name.
All right. Let's do a reading. What poems would you like to read for us today? Where would you like to start?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as all smart men do, I'd like to start with the lady in my life.
It's a
One of
good
the
choice.
songs, yes, one of the poems that I wrote is called "Right Time, Song Place," and it just
Hmm.
talks about it. Well, I'll read it and then I'll talk a little bit about what it's about.
Okay.
But it goes. A woman that spent way too much time building a man once said through him that love was divine only and difficult always. A learned application without reason or motive except that it is God. You don't deserve it if you think it is easy. If you think it is natural, then you are a fool. You have to practice because with inaction comes distraction. Are you tracking? Because what I'm telling you is when I come over, play something that sounds like my heart beats when I'm around you. In those times when it seems that God isn't interested in you, we can work at the passion like Frank's girlfriend who was working at the pyramid that night. And I won't save any money, baby. You can have it all. And remember, I'm not speaking to you. I'm a mirror from you, speaking words from a woman who spent too much time building a man so she could speak to herself. A deep chasm of what she imagines when she hears broken promises from three L's with life, love, and loyalty, holding me honest like a pinky swear. You are like air, and I will protest if they ever try to own your commons. Because natural resources should flow abundantly without them getting to draw lines around you. I'm glad I found you. May heaven abound you. Sincerely, a real one trying to drown you.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
strong. I
yeah.
think I heard you say play something that sounds like my heartbeat when I'm around you.
Yes, yes,
That
yes.
that caught my attention.
Hmm.
That's really making sure that you guys are in the same place and that
Yeah,
she's feeling you. She's literally your heartbeat. And
yes,
that's a
yes.
really beautiful way of telling a woman that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think about the push and pull, because one of those lines comes from Toni Morrison's Paradise when she says, there's a preacher who says love is divine only and difficult always.
That's right.
And so, but when I think about just that sentence, and then I think about some of these different lines, like you said, play something that sounds like my heart beats around you. I think of like love is like this enormous, huge thing that is always moving through
Yes,
us, with us, and around us. And so I wanted to try and encapsulate that yearning if I could, but as we know, love is too expansive for words anyway. But I
that's
tried to
right.
put together a whole bunch of images that describe the yearning and the begging for my wife's presence. Yeah,
Love is one of those things that we always try to find the right words to describe it. I don't know that we've come up with the right words, but you
I'm
did a
trying
really
to
good
tell you.
job. You've come about as close as anyone that I know. And we're all going to keep trying and we're going to always
Yeah.
continue to attempt, right? To try
Yes,
to
sir.
give the words that match how we feel. What else do you have
Absolutely.
to read for us? What's next?
We'll do circles. This one is called circles. Um, God is in circles, going in as much as in goes, and out as far as out can be. In the rings, you can see me, you, them, us in bunches through the things that we wear, dress, exist in. Like how one of my students has started keeping everything she has to do in a notebook. Like I've seen my wife do so many times, a trait she picked up from her mother. It's like everyone is related in infinite cylinders that connect like telescopes, looking at boys that want to be like young boy, the way I wanted to be like Boosie. I see hollering for pimps to see, us sitting on glass seats with leather up under our ass cheeks with grills that seem to shine from Kemet to Maya to Mississippi to Georgia to Louisiana. We've all come to know God through circles. My
Mm.
son looks like me, shines like me with his mother's round eyes and ounces of innocence that he sheds yearly until he's my height, reading and smoking a cigar, blowing circles like his father used to. And though there's a hole in the oval within the D that starts the dad I didn't see much, I still see so much of him in me, in that son with his mother's round eyes who cries like I used to in the circles that God draws in mysterious ways.
Wow, that says so many things. Very powerful. That God draws circles. Everything
Yeah,
in
yeah.
life that we know, I get the symmetry there. Everything in life that we know is cyclical, right? Just like
Mm-hmm.
the four seasons
Mm-hmm.
that brings us through a year. The universe is drawn on that cycle. Everything that we know and
Yes, yep.
everything that we see and everything that we feel, right? We keep coming back to the
Mm-hmm.
places where we started. Just kind of talk about that overall theme. You call it circles,
Yeah.
but then you hit on that symmetry in so many places within this poem.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was inspired by that very thing that you're talking about, right? Like this cyclical nature. And
Yep.
and I think that one of the things I was thinking about when I was writing this poem was like when old folks tell you to live a little longer,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because they say God moves in mysterious ways, but I pay attention to the circles she draws. And so
Hmm.
as you get older, you'll start seeing why you had to go through certain things in order
Yes.
to be the version of yourself who you've become. And so all of these things make you, whether they're active participants in your life or not. Like I said, like the hole in the oval that makes up the dad that I didn't see much, it doesn't matter. I still see so much of him in me, in
And
my
you.
son who has my his mother's round eyes,
That's right.
right?
That's
And
right.
and no matter what, we all make up all of that, right? And so eventually my son will be looking at those circles. And
Hmm.
simultaneously, it was also inspired by the Fibonacci sequence, right?
Okay.
This sequence that shows up like in our fingertips,
The DNA.
in the circles that are inside of a tree,
Hmm.
in the petals of a flower,
That's
this
right.
evidence that God is working,
That's right.
and
That's
that,
right.
everything is a circle. And so there's no need to worry no matter what part of the circle you're in, it will all come around full circle.
You say in there, we all come to know God through
Hmm.
circles. Tell
Through
us
those
more about
circles.
that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So if you pay attention enough, right? Like this is the Fibonacci sequence is something that is showing up in
That's
everything.
right. That's right.
I'm talking about everything in the skin that a snake sheds,
Mm.
in the way that a leaf like deteriorates. It shows up in everything. And all life really requires of you in order to understand God is that you experience it. You know what I mean?
Man. Oh
And
yeah.
it
Oh
will
yeah.
it will undoubtedly like give you whatever your soul said it needed before it decided to come here.
Yeah.
And so, as long as like the old folks say, just live a little while, live a
That's
little
right.
longer.
That's
Hmm.
right. What does this story, I mean, this poem, what does this message say to young people? For me, I often think about how history repeats itself, right? That there's
Hmm.
nothing new under the sun, as it's said, and this cyclical nature is a repeat of things that have occurred before. It looks different. It's got different clothes on, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But you and I both know some of these things are cyclical from our history to the politics, some of the things that we see every day in society. What's the message there for, say, younger people who think that it's maybe happening for the very first time, and maybe for them it is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, what is that? I think is that Ecclesiastes that teaches us there's nothing new under the sun.
Yep,
And this idea that
yep.
something's happening for the first time is nothing more than vanity, is what the king in
That's
that
right.
in
That's
that
right.
chapter of the work kind of comes to know.
That's right.
And ultimately the only thing that we should be seeking is an audience with God. And
Mm,
so what I would say this poem is kind of saying to young folks is, first of all, there's nothing new under the sun, and that if you, as well as older folks, as well as elders, do this work of pouring into, sharing a drink with, and having a drink poured into you,
Yeah.
then everything will be fine. So
Yes.
like if you find yourself, everybody is young, on par or old to someone, right?
That's right. That's
But
right.
is but if you run with young folks, you'll run fast.
That's
If you
right.
run with folks your age, you'll run well. And if
Yeah.
you run with folks who are older than you, you'll run for a long time.
There you
And
go.
so I would need young folks to understand the nature and the usefulness of a
That's right.
circle, right?
Mm, yeah.
Because I think that is the problem when what we are alluding to when we say that children are lost is that they have
Mm,
no direction,
mm,
right? And the circle is cyclical. So
that's right.
if we are if we find ourselves taking it serious when we call ourselves mentors, taking
Yeah.
it serious when we call ourselves teachers, taking it serious when we call ourselves a mentee,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then we will do ourselves well and glorify our Father who is in heaven.
I will say this for young people just before we move on. I learn a lot from them.
Hmm. Exactly.
It expands my I'm 60
Hmm.
years old. It expands my vision, it expands my horizon. It expands a different way of thinking and seeing the world that I would not have come to that conclusion on my own. So while we're
Hmm.
mentors and we're here to teach them, they're still teaching us a little bit too, right, Doc?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You learn about them, you learn about yourself helping folks with their
That's
problems.
exactly
You
right, Doc.
know, and
Well
so it's
said.
just like I
Well
was
said.
telling my some boys I mentor, I can't tell you to do well and be righteous if I'm not righteous myself.
Amen.
You
Amen.
know, and so anything that I require of them, I try to I try to live up to that standard. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And the same
That's
for my
right.
son, the same for my wife, for anyone I love, I try to hold them to the highest standard and then do that same work on myself. Because if I'm not well, I cannot make sure that others are well.
And as the relationship grows, you find out that they start teaching you things. I might,
Hmm.
they start teaching you. So I have two
Yeah.
younger sons who are now in their adulthood, and I'm learning them. They're teaching the teacher.
Hmm.
What next poem do you have for us?
Let's see. Let's see here. Let's do, ancient missed calls.
There you go.
Um, what am I supposed to do when Africa calls me? Should I not answer because I'm out of town? Should I pretend like music hits me no different from anyone else when I know each note rubs my soul? Should I cut off the poignant rhythms of my ancestors because the Bible tells me so? When I can feel my grandmother's presence like she's outside, inside, all around me all the time. And when I look at things, I feel my grandfather grow. I feel angry because she calls so loudly, hear me, but her children never listen. So it's only me who cares that she's stuck in quicksand, but I can't pull her out by myself, so I cry, always just out of reach.
Wow, that's powerful. I
Yeah.
heard something in there that said, should I pretend like music hits me no different from anyone else when I know each note rubs my soul? It's
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
you're conflicted there, almost like a code switching is taking place, and maybe you're not being true to self. Did I misinterpret that? Give me more
Mhm.
of what the thinking is there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, first of all, I think, one of the things that we find ourselves as children of the diaspora in is we have all of these, I would say, like spiritual products that
Hmm.
we don't have the spiritual toolkit to understand how to rebuild
Amen.
or control or
Mm,
steer, right? So
yep.
this idea of ancient miscalls is dealing with the fact that we somehow find ourselves here in America with access to all these things from this
Yes.
entirely different continent that we don't know how to properly use. And we don't necessarily know how to connect with those folks who are still there,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
yet we know that this music, it rubs us, right?
yes.
That's what old folks are trying to get at when they're trying to talk to whichever generation is beneath them, whether
That's
it
right.
is jazz, blues,
Hmm.
doo-wop, hip hop,
Yeah.
etc. This thing is special and spiritual, and if we're not careful with it, it could ruin us all,
Mm,
right?
That's right.
And so I think that what that is alluding to is that we have to first recognize that music is a deeply spiritual thing for Black folk,
It
and we
is.
should govern ourselves accordingly in the kind of music that we consume. And it
Yeah.
does not mean that secular music, as like church folk often says, is has nothing to offer. Because I think that's what made the Sinners movie so powerful is people
Yes.
got to see that there isn't a lot of difference between the blues and gospel,
No, it is not. No, it is
right?
not. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. And
That's
if
right.
we are more honest about all of the things that God sent us here to learn,
Yeah.
as opposed to the things that certain ones of us have decided to pick out and make higher than others,
That's
there
right.
is something to be learned from the blues that is deeply spiritual as
Deeply.
well. And so I think when we do the work of excavating
Yes.
out of this new culture that we've created, those types of divine things, like our
Hmm.
relationship with music and the spiritual tools that we need to actually wield it properly, then we would find ourselves in a better place spiritually. Because I just
I
think
think
music is very important.
you could put an Al Green song, an Otis Redding song on for a young person who grew up in the church, and as soon as they heard it, it could be
Mhm,
on the secular side. As soon as they heard it, it's gonna take them right back, man. It's gonna
mhm.
take them. If they
Exactly.
were to close their eyes, they think they were
Hmm.
right there in that third pew, right where their mom
Hmm.
sits.
Come
It's
on
gonna
now.
take you back some places, won't it?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
embedded there, and I think, I also think that Black folks are feeling folk, and so,
Hmm.
we just have to we just have to be careful with what we feel,
That's right. That's
and
right.
make sure that it's something that we feel inherently, and not something that other people are trying to make us feel.
That's exactly right. What do you have next for us?
Let's see here. Let's see. I think I got. Let's do good one. This is it's titled WLKNM, but that's an allusion to Walking Mermaid.
Okay.
Uh, she used to love to watch TV about horses, but now she's into dragons. I saw her hanging out where the fish talk and tell stories about the blues they see. She was waiting to see them. I should have told you sooner. I'm pretty sure she's hoping to ride one. I don't know why she thinks she'll be able to. I've told her nobody has been able to, but she doesn't believe like the rest of us. So a walking mermaid is like an outcast no matter where she is, right?
Huh.
She's an outcast on land because she has gills. She's an outcast in the ocean because she has feet, right? But she
Yeah.
knows things. The outcast always knows things. There's something to be said about what the witness sees,
Mm. Yeah.
and she used to be into horses, but now she likes dragons, and that implies a level of fearlessness,
Yeah.
right? For
Next
this
level.
person.
Next level.
Yeah, yeah. And so to walking mermaids is something that I was playing with it as an idea for like a some type of clothing down the line, right?
Okay.
For outcasts who are dreamers, etc. But I've written multiple allusions to the walking mermaid, but I just thought it was such a beautiful, cool image. Like whenever you hear like walking mermaid, I think, words in general are like spells. So when you hear
That.
walking mermaid, a particular image is going to show up inside of
Hmm.
your mental reality that is unique to you,
Very unique. That's right.
right? And
Yeah.
so even by virtue of reading this, you're having an experience that is like being a walking mermaid.
That is wonderful. Well, we have time for one more if you'd like to share it with us. What do
Let's
you got?
see. Let's see what we got here. We did the calls. Let's do. Okay, this will be a good one. Her. She got a mind that's made of glitter, gold, and her snaps are like sweet honey from the Arab stove. When I see her, my creed reminds me of green candy apples, dipped in vanilla, addictive like open gas jugs, fumes that take me elsewhere, sparking with fire like the shots of the Beretta. Now,
Wow.
the reason I chose that poem is I didn't write it, right? I
Who did?
orchestrated it, my
Okay.
students. So I was trying to
Wonderful.
show them how a poem can take things from everywhere and
Hmm.
literally become an image, like have an experience. So I was just pointing at them, telling them to say something. So one student said glitter. That's where you get she's got a mind that's made of glitter. One student says gold, and that's where the next line comes from. And her snaps are like sweet honey. Snaps is an allusion to Snapchat. Snapchat was all the rage. And so each of these lines is literally just something that these 30 students, these 30 random children in Mississippi offered. And it created this image of a being that is all of these things that they thought were amazing.
That is simply incredible. The imagery is phenomenal. It tells me
Mhm.
that you're a really good teacher because she seems to have gotten all the tools and really
Mhm.
truly understand the layering that takes place in a well-written poem. Kind of talk to me about. I know you recently earned your doctorate. Tell us more about it. And first of all, congratulations. But I'd like to hear more about it before we sign off.
Yeah. So I just successfully defended my dissertation. I actually did research on how African American males use the Divine Nine to build social and cultural capital on white campuses.
Mhm.
So because of course Kappa Alpha Psi is something that's very important to me, and what it offers, like people who are essentially children, right, coming right out of school, 19,
Yeah.
20 years old are
Mhm.
all of these amazing tools. And I was like, how could I excavate that and offer it to people who might not be interested in joining the Divine Nine, but who are
Mhm.
interested in furthering themselves and building social and cultural capital on these campuses, because it all adds to Black folks being well, and humanity being well. And but what it represents to me though is opportunity, intellectual opportunity for people that look like me and who come from where I come from. There already isn't a lot of PhDs on Earth in general. I think like 2% of the population has them. And then you now have to contend with the fact that, I'm a black man who has
That's
a
right.
PhD. That number goes down
Hmm.
exponentially even more, right?
Yeah.
But that is a possibility for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have to immediately suggest only things that utilize our ability to move things physically. We have intellectual usefulness as well.
Right.
Um, and that looks like however we show up. And so, my brother asked me, what does it mean? What does it mean to have the
That's right.
certificate of the man and yada yada
That's
yada,
right.
right?
That's
And
right.
I was like, it means that I'm everything now. I've done
Yes.
everything that they said I needed and everything that I already knew that I needed anyway. And so there's nothing that
There's no next
anyone,
level. There's no
yeah,
next level,
that's
brother.
it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I do.
at the top in terms of that, there's only me, right? I
That's
told
right.
him, I said that means I'm the smartest person you know, little brother. That's what I told him.
And I would agree. I would agree. Lastly, before we let you go, because you mentioned the movie Sinners, which I think is a movie that we all should run to go see. It has so many layers and so many meanings, right? And so the symbolism in this movie is so powerful to who we are as Black people. And it speaks to the great temptation, it speaks to choice, right?
Mhm,
Right? Choose you this day whom you will serve. And it's
mhm,
right there in front of us, right? To choose. We
mhm,
literally welcome sin in. It's
mhm,
not
mhm,
something that falls on us. It's not something that happens to us. I think this movie kind of clearly shows us that you have to allow it in. You have to make space
mhm.
for it to come in. So, just
Come
kind
on
of
now.
what more can you tell us about this genre of storytelling? And I think Ryan Coogler did a wonderful job in terms of the responsibility of good storytelling to
Mhm,
offer something to our people and to young people that really does feed the spirit, that feeds the mind, it feeds us academically in terms of everything that we
mhm.
truly are.
Yeah. I would say James Meredith, last time I seen him, he said I said, "Hey, do you know who said Mississippi is the center of the world?" And he said, "Yes, I do." Because I wasn't sure it was him, right? I was trying to see what he said. "Yes, I do." He said, "But I didn't say world, I said the universe."
Mm,
Um, and what that means is that Mississippi, there's no state in the union that had more lynchings than this one,
that's right, bro.
right? And so if Mississippi is well, then the rest of the universe is well. However
Mm,
Mississippi looks is how the rest of the universe looks, is what he was getting at, right?
that's
And
right. That's
so
right.
realizing that, I think Ryan Coogler realized the importance of Mississippi to the overall story of America in
That's right.
general, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing as a
That's
as a
right.
landmass. And the
Yeah.
second thing as a people who
Yes.
have given us, I mean, American music in general,
Yes.
right? And then the lexicon to understanding what music even is. Because I
That's
think,
right, bro.
again, I think blues is something that is transcendent, that
That's
they
right.
don't, scholars have not completely
That's right.
like
That's right.
uncovered its expanse. Because
Yes.
one of the first obvious notes that
Yeah.
people don't understand the blues is that they think it's about sadness.
Isn't that something?
You know what I
They
mean?
don't
And
get
so
it.
I
No,
think
no.
I think that Ryan Coogler, first of all, is someone who also, was sent here with a mission, as we all are, right? But who is someone who was sent here with a particular mission for storytelling. That I hope that he remembers to listen only to that mission and no one else, because I think he's on a run right now that is just so amazing, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it's so tapped into the universal black consciousness that he seems to have this ability to give us exactly what we need at exactly the right moment. And that is a jump in film that,
Yes.
people like Spike started, Ava carries, and then Ryan,
Mhm.
runs with. And so I think that that film as a medium is so expansive when it comes to storytelling, and so paramount in this anti-intellectual landscape that we find ourselves in. We have to do and produce as many
Yes.
intellectual products like Sinners
That's
as
right.
we can. Black folks, Italian folks,
That's right.
Asian folks, Latinx folks, all of us have to do our due diligence to be good stewards of our story in
That's
that
right.
same way, so that we don't allow people to rewrite it.
Well said by Dr. Jerid P. Woods. We want to thank you for joining us here on this wonderful book club presented by the Beta Theta Achievement Foundation and the Rocky Mountain Newts in the great state of Colorado. We wish you all the great success. Your future is so bright, brother. I'm gonna have to put on the shades, man. We're gonna
Thank you.
continue to pray for you, and we continue to follow
Appreciate it.
you in the great work that you shall do with your talents and with your ability. We want to thank you for joining us. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Hey, thank you. I always tell people when they say stuff like that to me, we're the same. I'm made out of you. I couldn't show up and be here and be excellent if y'all didn't believe in me and didn't bash me over the head when I need a little extra push. So I want to say thank you to the good brothers at the Beta Theta chapter. Y'all have been, I mean, tremendous and extremely helpful.
We appreciate you. Thank you.